that brings me to the next point here. I'm going to be using Google Classroom extensively, daily. Okay, so I hope it picks it up. But what I'm gonna continue doing is recording all of my lessons. So whatever is on this screen is going to be posted on YouTube, okay, at the end of every day. And it's going to all be organized in Google Classroom. So every day, right, you're going to have the date, and then it's going to be video lesson, and then any answer key that you need for what I assign. It's not just the answer, it's actually the answer key, so like how I worked it out. And sometimes I'm a little bit like, maybe students don't actually do their homework, they just look at my answer key. But then again, you know, I look at it this way. I give you resources, I give you what you need, and you take it from there. However you learn, maybe you do learn by looking at my answer key. And I'm like, you're taking the time to looking at my answer key, so that's a plus, right, for me. Because you're still somehow learning, you're trying to look at what am I doing wrong, right? So I'm going to be using Google Classroom regularly. Sometimes it bites me because from time to time students have been taking advantage of that, like they miss a lot of class. But you know what? Usually you lose that game. You can play it if you want, but at the end of the day, it affects you because not everything is recorded. I don't record every single thing I do. It's usually just when I start the actual note taking and some of the examples, boom, I do post that, right? So, but you will be missing things like ACs. I will tell you how I do ACs. I do a lot of them, maybe every other day. And so small little quizzes, like this is what we did yesterday. Do you know how to do it? It may actually look like a homework question. It's like, I kind of did this. I did this last night. Okay, I got it. And you will be marking it. I will walk you through it when we're done. Time is up. Okay, we're done now. You grab a red pen or a marker, and I'll walk you through it. This is how I would mark it. So, and I will actually solve it with you. And then I'll be like, okay, if you made a mistake here, that's a -1. If you made a mistake here, that's a half mark reduction, and so forth. And then you'll be marking your ACs every time. Mr. Dixon, couldn't I cheat, or couldn't someone cheat on that? Yes, it's possible, but they're not worth a whole lot overall. So if your tests and quizzes come back and you're like getting 50s and 60s, but you were acing your ACs, I'm kind of like, let's have a conversation here. Something isn't adding up, right? I want you to be the teacher and just be like, you know what, I made a mistake, so what? Hopefully you learn from it, right? You want to learn from our mistakes. So if you don't do so well on the AC, you know what, if you don't do well on an AC here and there, it's not going to bring you down a whole lot. But if you learn from it, when it's test time, that's when it matters. You're going to be like, I remember my mistakes, and I'm not going to make it on the test where stakes are higher, okay? So don't be falling into the trap like I need to somehow get my marks up and I'm gonna just bump it up, right? I'm just gonna copy down the right answer and check, right? 100%. At some point we find out, right? I can smell it, right? When students cheat. So please don't. You have a resource sheet, right? Like what more do you need? Do you have a graphing calculator? Like what else do you need, right? So I need a lid. Where did I put my lids? In back there. So these graphing calculators have pretty big lids. And I'll tell you, the students get all creative. Right? So I've had a number of times, right? My phone is probably too big, but students try this, right? So they have the phone in here. And first of all, like if you're calculating like this, right, something's fishy, right? So I'm going to investigate on that. So this is one of the examples. Like I'm not saying you're going to try that, but take a bad mark on your test over cheating, and usually Hello, hello. Xander? Yeah. Okay, welcome here. We're gonna set you up here. So sometimes you will have a bad test. It could happen. You were sick. You maybe didn't get a good night's sleep. You maybe had 3 tests coming up on the same day. I'd rather you talk to me when that happens, right? So let's say you know well in advance, I'm going to have 3 tests on that day. I can't promise you that I will change it or make it go away, but at least now we know what's happening, right? And I can maybe do a little bit of juggling there. But if I promise you I'm always going to change it, we've got 22 students in this class. If I have to accommodate everybody's schedule, good luck, right? It's a losing battle. I'm not going to win. But I will give you heads up, at least 5 days for tests. Like you're going to know 5 days minimum. So I'm going to write that down. Every time there's a quiz, which I marked, for a test, it's going to show up here. This board is going to be completely filled in by the time we're at the end of the semester, right? So you will always know, oh, test coming up, right? Quiz coming up. ACs, I will not tell you. It's pop quiz. Like, if you follow it along, you have a pretty good chance at scoring decent marks on it, right? So that's just how I roll. So I post my lessons, I record my lessons, and you know what? I found that a lot of students use it as math help. So let's say you were tired or you were dozing off or things were going on in life, you were just not able to focus. A lot of students just go, oh, click, 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 fast forward. I just need that 5 minutes right here, right? Oh, okay, now I know how to do it. That's math help right there, if you ask me, right? And it's like exactly the way I explained it back then. If you still need help, come and talk to me, right? I don't have a designated math help day. So whenever you are struggling, just come and talk to me. And sometimes it just takes minutes and then you're on your way, right? To trying that on your own. So let's go back to our course outline here. I talked a little bit about the course. We'll obviously try to develop critical thinking skills and problem solving. That's going to be very important here. Look at my prereq for this course. It's all I require. You know, it used to be 60%. We had a 60% minimum in IAPR, Intro to Applied and Pre-Cal, to take this course. But they got away with it, like they took that away. So right now I'm just saying, hey, if you're willing to work, even if you just got a 50 in IPR, you can change that, right? And still do well. But please don't fall into this. I've heard it, and I've realized it after some students take applied because they think it's a lot easier than pre-cal, right? You're like, yeah, I just want something. It's not necessarily true. Okay, it's not necessarily true. I've had pre-cal students, they take grade 11 pre-cal, and then in grade 12, they want to take grade 12 applied because it's easier. Oh, they had a hard time, right? Because first of all, they don't know how to use that tool, the calculator, right? They're not used to word problems and problem solving, and all of a sudden, they're like, wait a minute, I thought this was a lot easier. It's like, no, it's not. It's different, right? And I think it's actually very beneficial to be able to problem solve, right? Word problems in particular. So here are the topics that we're going to cover, not necessarily in this order, but we're going to start with proportional reasoning and measurement. I know in IPR you did a lot of that, right? Some of it has to do with surface areas and volumes and the cost of renovating. Like I know you've done that in IPR. I've taught it, so I know what's in there. So some of you might, benefit from that, but it's going to be a very short unit, about a week, right? And then done.
Required materials, the usual. You actually, what I would like to focus on here is highlighters. I'm a big fan of highlighters. I have usually 4 colors going. Not always do I use all 4, but some examples require that, and you see the pattern. Because you know what, when we take notes, it makes sense right there and then, right? But let's say you're studying for the exam. Notes, 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 notes. Like nothing sticks out. But if you highlight, I promise you, you flip through your notes, it's like, okay, that he put in here in the formula, and then he did this to it, and I highlight some of those things to make it easier, and it just pops, right? So I would suggest you have some ready to go. Obviously, the TI-83 or 84, we will be giving you a free rental. So I would just suggest stick with this one. Colored screen, you can't go wrong. It used to be just black and white screens, and now they're colored. So we can draw multiple lines and curves, and they all look, you can identify them easily, which is amazing. I will be giving you a textbook, but we'll be using it very little. So don't bring it to school. Leave it home. Leave it at home. Don't carry it around. It's a heavy brick to carry around. So just leave it at home. From time to time, I will assign, and you can go and get the questions there. But I've created booklets for every single unit. Every single unit I've created booklets. Took me a long time, but I'm finally done, right? So these booklets have worksheets in them. They have places to take notes. Everything is in one place, right? I learned that with COVID, right? If everything is in one place, even if you do go remote, everything was nice and organized, and it helps just in general to have it all in one place, right? So you'll be getting that for every single unit. Assessments. Gotta look at my time here. So 4 components: ACs, quizzes, tests, and then the final exam, of course. But this is what the semester revolves around, okay? And so ACs, they're basically pop quizzes, right? And there are 3 to 4 of them per week. And it's marked by each student. It acts like a homework check, basically. I want to keep you on task, right? And make sure you're following along. And they prepare you for the test. Quizzes, similar to ACs, but they're marked by me. And to be honest, sometimes I just grab 2 or 3 ACs and just staple them together, and it's like, here, this is your quiz. Hello, hello. Let me just pause this here for a sec. But if I do need to make a seating plan, I will, okay? Just because I can. Quizzes marked by me. There's usually 1 or 2 quizzes per unit, and the answer is like 1. Sometimes I've had 2 quizzes when it's a really long unit, but most of the time I just keep it to 1. Tests, there'll be 6 to 7 tests administered throughout the semester. Final assessment, obviously covers everything, okay? So the final assessment is 25%, tests combined 55%, and the quizzes and accountability checks all in one bag add up to 20%. And the quizzes are heavier than the accountability checks on that. So what I do is I do not post my marks in the classroom anymore. I don't do that. So you get an email sent after every test. So when you get that email, you'll have a column that says ACs, quiz, and test. So let's say we do measurement first. So it'll be measurement AC, measurement quiz, measurement test. So the ACs, I have a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet that I keep track of all your ACs, and then I just combine it into one mark and put that in for that unit. Then I have another tab for the next unit. I combine all your ACs. So you will have for the next unit, same thing, ACs, quiz, and test. And then overall at the top corner, you'll see your overall mark. Like, where are you at overall? School email. okay? Not your personal school email. I don't have your personal emails. So your school emails, you got to check that. And I also send a copy to your parents. Some of you might not like that, but you know what? It's better for everybody to just know where you're at any given time, so there are no surprises. I don't like surprises at the end, where sometimes your parents might get upset at you for not telling them, or upset at me for not letting them know. So this way, I know that everybody's on board and everybody knows what's happening. Okay, and hey, wouldn't you rather find out second or third test in I need to change something, as opposed to we're at the end of the semester, now what, right? So because I don't give booster marks, I don't give like, oh, just do this assignment, you get 5%. Like I don't do that. So your time to shine is throughout the semester. Okay. So I'm quite predictable. After the first month, you will know what to expect with me. Okay. Whiteboard work. Did I talk about that already? My previous class, I think. I don't do a whole lot of whiteboard work. I will, from time to time, get you to work in groups, but not a whole lot, not as much as you're probably used to. And some of you might miss that, and some others might appreciate that. But I need you to be able to do stuff on your own as well, okay? Not just relying on the whiteboard. And all of the ACs you write, I give them back. Every single one of them, I give them back. So you have a bunch of them to study off of as well, right? It's a great study tool. So when you mark, make notes. Oh, I should have done this here. I should have done that there, right? Just to remind you. Okay. I'm going to do a lot of talking today. Did I tell you that? You probably figured. Google Classroom. I'm not going to talk more about it. Was it Caitlin? Did you get an invite from me? You did. Okay. Cell phones, devices, I cannot compete with your phones. I'm just not as interesting. I can't do it. So, but I also don't want to be the cell phone police. I don't want to do the box thing. Everybody phones in the box or anything like that. I don't want to have to come over to you and say, hand over your phone, because I just don't want to do that. I want you to learn to be responsible, guys. You're not going to turn 18 and there's a magic switch somewhere in your brain that's going to tell you now you're going to make wise decisions, right? It's not going to happen. You're going to have to learn that as early as now, right? Like you need to start being like, you know what, phone right now, not the place and the time. When there's a break or something, I'm going to check my phone maybe. I'll do that myself, like, hey, oh, Amazon dropped off a package on my door. Okay, good to know, right? Stuff like that, but I'm not constantly on it, chatting, messaging. Like that's distracting. There are tests out there, research that shows if you're on it the whole time, you can't focus. You're not concentrating. So make a habit to put them away, focus on what we're doing in class. It's a very important skill, guys. I talked about the study sheet. Study sheet comes with you for everything you do. You put on there whatever you want. And here's the missed assessments. And this is, I am somewhat, I do give some leeway, but I do also want to make sure you understand the message that being here is important and that I take it seriously, right? So for ACs, if you miss it, I'll just put a 0 there. No makeup, like you can't come at lunch or the next day or whatever and make up for it. I will say this, if you're sick and you let me know, you message me or your parents message me, you know my email right at the front here. You can use, right here, you can also use Google Classroom, like to just send me a private message. If it happens once here and there, I just put a no mark in it. Not a 0, a no mark, which means it doesn't affect you either way. It doesn't bring you up or down. But if I start seeing lots of missed days, then it's a different story, right? Then I start putting in zeros. Because, you know, attendance is important. Being here is important. It's often not valued a whole lot. Like in school, like you can be late a lot, miss a lot, and still pass, right? But it's not going to fly in when you get a job, right? You might get a job, but keeping a job is important. And keeping a job, how do you do it? Show up and work hard, right? Like if you can be trained, you'll be hired over a person that's overqualified but doesn't show up. I used to be a supervisor at Kitchen Craft. Unfortunately, I had to fire people from time to time. And this fellow said, well, I'm your best worker. You are when you're here, but you're missing every Friday and Monday, right? Which now means that your coworkers have to pick up your slack, right? That's not fair. So yeah, just keep that in mind. A missed quiz, if it's verified, you write it on the first day back. And tests, if it's not, if you do not verify it at all, 15% deduction right off the bat, and then 5% for each additional day to a maximum of 25%. Okay. However, right, this is a one-strike rule. So if you miss a test, right, and it's verified, I got an email, then this rule will not apply the first time. But I always make a note in my mark book. You will see the note as well. When I send you a report next to the test, there'll be a remark, right? Missed test or something like that. So if it's more than one, that's when I start applying this, right? And you might think that's a little harsh. And I probably agree with you. But think about it this way. Everybody else in the class studied and made some sacrifices to be here for the day. And now a classmate of yours misses 2-3 tests. They get an extra day to review, right? To prepare. Maybe can even talk to someone in the class. How's that fair, right? To everybody else. Think about it that way. And then maybe you might say, oh, okay, I see the point. Okay. And if you're going on a long vacation, you got to talk to me like ASAP, right? And by the way, it's going to affect you, right? Like some students ask, I'm going to be away for 6 weeks. It's going to affect me. Yeah, it's going to affect you. Okay. The nice thing about me is that I do post my video lessons. So if you're driven, even if you're a nice plus 40 climate, right? You can still follow along. So that is still nice, right, for that. So that's a perk of being in my class, I guess. So attendance, it's your responsibility, right? If you miss class, I think that is a given. Do not skip class. We cover new content daily, and obviously you need to make up for it. Homework is a key component, right, to be successful. I will assign it regularly, and you're encouraged to complete it. And sometimes your homework is simply update your study sheet. Or sometimes your homework is, if I don't say anything, hey, I'm just going to catch up from what I missed before, or I'm going to review my notes, right? Okay. That's that. Here's another one. Last part there, there's no specific math help. But if you need help, talk to me. Sometimes it only takes a couple of minutes, and then you're on your way. It's like, oh, okay, that's what I need to do. Okay. And you need to be willing to. My youngest son, he's always a little bit like, I just don't know how to do it. Well, try. Put it on paper, right? Because if you put it on paper, I can help you. I can see where you need help. If you're not even trying, how can I even begin to help you, right? So I encourage you to try and don't give up, because we can make it work. Okay? If you work hard and you get a 60 or a 50 or a 70, whatever it is, hey, I'll take that, because you're working hard. Math is not everybody's thing. Did you know that? So you have to take math, right? You don't have a choice, which I think is important to know math, right? To be able to complete it, but you don't all have to be like 100%ers. You know what I mean? It's fine to be where you're at. It's fine, and that's why I don't like to post marks, because then you start comparing, and comparison is a trap, right? Your neighbor might do no homework. Some students actually boast about it. They brag and say, I did no homework and I get an 80, right, in my class. I'm like, don't worry about your friend or your neighbor, worry about yourself. What do I need to do to succeed? And some of you, this is your last year of high school, right? Some of you are graduating, I'm guessing, because you'll be taking grade 12 applied right after this. So it's your last go at it. Last go at math in high school, so work hard. Grade 11, how's grade 11 different than grade 12? Grade 12 is a little faster paced because there's a provincial exam at the end of the line, right? The provincial exams are back. Don't be scared. It's going to be okay. It's just an exam that we don't know exactly what's going to be on it, but we prepare you for it because we've seen enough of the exams over the years. Okay. All right. Is there anything that I'm missing? Any questions? I don't want to ask questions because then you're going to talk more, Mr. Dirksen, so I'm just going to keep it to myself here. You're going to get a lot of cheesy jokes. So you probably talked to some friends and they've warned you. I get that all the time on the feedback that students give me. But they don't mind it. Like, they're horrible, but they don't mind it. I don't get it. But you're gonna get quite a few of those. I think I'm gonna actually we're gonna give you some lockers. I'm gonna pause it here. Introduction here. On button, obviously, bottom left. You probably found that already. To turn it off, you press the second, which is like a shift button, right? Second, and then on again will turn off your screen, your calculator. Your calculator will power off on its own after a couple minutes anyways, like to save battery. But anyways, so, and if you hit the clear button is right here. My finger just under the arrows here. If you hit clear, it clears your screen, right? But if you go arrow up, you still have more stuff, like it's a history of what you've done, okay? So you clear, if you're on a line, see how I'm on this line, 0.8, and I hit clear, it just clears that line, right? So if you go down, arrow down, and the cursor is there, if you hit clear, it just clears that screen. So you can start, you don't want to see all the other stuff, right? And so that's important. Enter is like your equal button. You see that right here at the corner, bottom, very important. The next thing to remember is that subtract and negative, they're two different things, right? So if you want to enter a negative number, you got to use this one here, -3 or whatever. If you want to subtract two numbers, then you go right 3 minus 2 or something, whatever you're subtracting. So you got to distinguish because they're not the same thing, okay? And the rest I will teach you as we go. You see this little hat here? The hat button? That is the exponent or the power button, right? So if you type in 5 hat, see how it automatically elevates it, and then you put in whatever exponent you want, 5 to the 4, it's 20, obviously. No, I'm just kidding. It's 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, right? So there you have it. So those are a couple of things to remember. Anything else right now? I can't think of it. So let's dive in here. So if you have your pencil, I'm just going to keep it very basic today. You know what? In the past, I made students copy these down onto their study sheets. And then sometimes I get blamed for, well, you didn't give it to us, like whatever you want us to convert, we didn't have them here. So this will be a growing, like we might come back here from time to time and add a few here and there, okay? But make sure you don't use up a whole lot of space on your study sheet for this. Like try to make it as small as possible, right? You have some basic feet and inches, right? This is what we call the imperial system. This takes you from imperial to metric, right? And this is more for volumes and mass, right? So you've got your kilograms and your pound, your gallons and your liters, and then obviously you've got meters, centimeters to millimeters. So it's a bit all over the place. I'm gonna leave these blank for now. We're gonna probably come back to that Friday. You know that, right? You're not coming in tomorrow unless you're a grade 10 student, in which case you shouldn't have been here today, but whatever. I'm not gonna kick you out. It's too late for that. But anyways, so if you're 11, 12 student, you're not in tomorrow. You come back Friday. Yay, right? Isn't that nice? So let's not do any conversion. You dodged the